What's going on, footballers, coaches, athletes? Antonio here. So today we're going to be talking about plant-based nutrition. I know that there's a lot of footballers out there that are either implementing a plant-based nutritional protocol, or they want to transition to a plant-based nutritional protocol. And those that already are implementing, they're probably seeing a decrease in their performance, in their energy levels, and those that want to implement it might not know how to go about it. So I want to touch a few areas of what a nutritional plant-based protocol should look like, and all the things that you need to keep an eye on. Now, with that said, I would recommend you to get the help of a nutritional professional that can help you to personalize a little bit better your nutritional protocol. That way you can make sure that all the requirements of your body are being met. And also, before we get into all this, I'm going to touch on different areas in nutrition, and we can be talking about each specific area for days on other videos, by themselves. But I want to take a very light approach, and I want to just touch the surface. That way we can put you as a footballer or as a coach or as an athlete, we can put you on the same page, and you can be more aware of all the things that you need to keep an eye on. Now, with that said, this first thing is we need requirements of the sport, or requirements of your body, right? So what does your body need in order to perform optimally? So the first thing that we need to think about is hydration. So hydration is very, very important, and that means doing hydration protocols before the game, during the game, and post game. So, and there's a lot of protocols that you can go about it, different hours or different timing for them, but just making sure that you're hydrated. And the best way and the cheapest way of knowing whether you're hydrated or not is literally just looking at your urine and looking at the color of your urine. If you see the urine is coming out a little bit dark, that means that you're probably not as hydrated. It can mean other things too, but in general, it means that you're probably not hydrated enough. So making sure that you follow some hydration protocols before, during, and post game. So before you get in the turf, while you're in the turf, and after you get out of the turf. Now we got to think about also what are the resources of energy that my sport requires of me, or of my body, right? So where is my body getting all the energy? And in resistance or endurance sports, so that means a little bit more than 90 minutes, we're gonna be looking at your glycogen. So your glycogen is it's your energy source, and usually we can associate fatigue with the depletion of glycogen in your muscle tissue and in your bloodstream. Right, and then glycogen is stored in your muscle tissue and in your liver primarily. And you can see some symptomatic results after the fatigue depletes the glycogen storages. That means that you feel more tired, you feel depleted, your muscular system is going to be affected, and your nervous system is going to be, your central nervous system is going to be affected. So your cognitive side is also going to be a little affected by that depletion. Now, of course, we got to think about the concentration of glycogen, and again, it's stored in your muscles and your liver. And I mean, talking about numbers of millimoles per kilogram, it will be a little bit too in depth, but just making sure that all your muscle tissue is actually at its optimal levels of glycogen. It's really important. And of course, you can do that through a glycogenic overload, or a glycogenic supercompensation modified. Let me say that again, modified protocol. There's glycogenic overload and supercompensation protocols that they were implementing in the back in the day for endurance athletes, but now there's other modified protocols that are a little more effective with in less of a time. And where do I get that source of glycogen? Of course, you're probably asking, dude, but where do I get that, right? Where do I get glycogen? And the best source of getting glycogen is going to be carbohydrates. And so your body needs carbohydrates for sure. And for other sports that are going to be a little bit less than 45 minutes in duration, you might not want to do a glycogenic protocol. It all depends on the requirements of your body and how your body actually how your body is affected by this depletion. Now, that's looking at your body as a whole. What do you need as an energy source, right? But then, like, what do your muscles need? If you ask this question, what do your muscles need in order to sustain the activity? That means what do your muscles need in order to be able to move? And we need to take that back to understanding what are your muscles made of. And your muscles and your muscle tissue is the structure of proteins, and those proteins are made of amino acids. And those amino acids are called essential amino acids. Some of them are called essential amino acids, and they're essential because your body needs them, but they cannot be synthesized by your body. Now, even by the catabolism, that means the breakdown of your muscle tissue, you do get some essential amino acids, but still that there's not going to be 100% useful as other amino acids. And we're going to talk about a little bit later about all the requirements, like per kilogram per muscle mass. But it's going to vary whether, what sport do you play, whether you're a woman or a man, and of course it's going to vary on your age. And always keep in mind of, the goals that you have for yourself, right? So, okay, and that's looking at what your muscles need in order to perform optimally. And now looking at what is transport and isolate. And that is only looking at what your body needs, by the way. And what does your body need in order to transport and isolate things? And your body needs fat, and that's called lipids. So lipids are fats, right? And they're used for transportation, they're used for minerals, for transportation of minerals and vitamins. They are not soluble in water, right? And of course, proteins and carbohydrates are also used as transportation systems or vehicles. But usually fat, that's what we're gonna do, transportation and isolate. Now, what are those little helpers in the background making it all happen? Those are gonna be one of them or one of the groups that are going to be in the back helping lipids, helping proteins, and helping carbohydrates, which are going to be your micronutrients. They're going to be vitamins. And in general, they cannot be synthesized or they cannot be created by your own body. So we have to look for them in different sources and food sources. And they participate in many different systems. They participate in your metabolic pathways and your enzymic systems and your endocrine, which is going to be your hormone systems. And that's going to be looking at the vitamin group. But there's also another group of little helpers out there, or in the background, they're called minerals, and are really, really important. And those minerals, we can classify them in two groups, which is going to be macro minerals, which is going to be the minerals that we need more than 100 milligrams per day, and that's going to be your calcium, your phosphorus, your magnesium, and other sources. And of course, we're going to see those little in that same group, we're going to see electrolytes, which are going to be a different type of macro minerals. And your electrolytes, of course, you probably are familiar with those. It is going to be your sodium, your potassium, your chlorine, and they're also your muscle tissue needs in order to function properly. Your cells actually need it, but that's another, again, that can be done in another video. And then looking at the minerals now, we understand also something that is called trace elements, which are going to be in a little bit less quantity per day than your usual mineral. And those trace elements are going to be iron, zinc, iodine, and some other. Now, we want to also look at why is all this important in order for me, to like train. Right? Why is this all important in order for me just to like practice the sport that I love, to practice some football, going out on the turf and killing it, right? And training, and this is really important to understand that training, especially endurance training, it creates or has an effect in your autoimmune system. It creates oxidative stress, and it creates a lot of inflammation. So again, it has an effect on your autoimmune system. It has a lot of oxidative stress, and it causes a lot of inflammation. So because you literally are exposing your body into like new heights, into new levels, and that is all. It all creates stress. That's why after training, we want to reinforce your autoimmune system, and that's after training with your nutritional protocol. That if you go back to the funnels, or the athlete's funnel in another video, you can see all the different areas of what an athlete should look like, should look at. And your nutrition is going to be in one of those aspects, but again, it's completely related to your recovery. So right after training, we want to make sure that we reinforce your autoimmune system and we lower as much as we can your oxidative stress and your inflammatory markers, just to put you back into track. Now, with all that said, right, we understood what do we need in order to have enough energy, which is going to be your carbohydrates. We understood that you need proteins in order for your muscles to function properly and have their structure correctly or properly built. And of course, you know that you need hydration. You know that there's some little helpers in the background. There are going to be your vitamins, your minerals, your macrominerals, your electrolytes, and also your trace elements. And you also now probably understand why you need all this and why it's so important to attack and to help your autoimmune system to attack oxidative stress and inflammation, right? In order to get you at an optimal performance. Now, my recommendations, and again, I just want to stress the fact that if you are an athlete out there, that you probably are transitioning and getting accepted into a university, you might want to be thinking about getting some nutritional or professional nutritional help. But with that said, my recommendations are going to be as follows. So for carbohydrates, and that has to be man pre-game, during game, and after game. So your carbohydrate levels, you always want to keep them in somewhat relative high state. And for low intensity bouts or training sessions, I would recommend 3 to 5 grams per kilogram per day. For moderate bouts or training sessions, I would recommend 5 to 7 grams per kilogram per day. For intense training sessions, especially pre-season, it's going to be from 6 to 12 grams per kilogram per day. And now in training sessions, there are more than 3 hours, and those are going to be extreme training sessions. Of course, not a game, probably just a training session. You're probably going to need from 8 to 12 grams per kilogram per day of carbohydrates. Now, the most important thing, right? Where do I get those carbohydrates from? Because you are a plant-based athlete, or you want to transition to a plant-based, and you are not sure. Maybe you overate carbohydrates in the past, and you probably had some bad experiences with that because you're only eating carbohydrates. But still, where are the sources you can get it from? Of course, you need to think about a zero processed food because of the toxicity that it has in the body. And we can make another video about toxicity and why processed food is toxic to the body. But the thing is, you don't want to have any processed carbohydrates. You want those carbohydrates to be healthy and to be low in sugar. And you want those carbohydrates, or to consider leaving out those high gluten concentration carbohydrates, like wheat, barley, rye, and that of course is depending on your stomach, or whether you can actually accept gluten. But again, usually I would like to leave them out just as a general rule. And you want nutrient dense carbohydrates, so those are green leafy carbohydrates. And where you can get those, it can be broccoli, cauliflower, sweet potato, which is awesome for your microbiome because of their cell wall. It really helps just feed the bacteria there is in your stomach. We're going to talk about that in another video, microbiome and all that stuff. But you want to get also from beets, from zucchini, and all berries. So try to get a different just type of berries and colors into your diet. And of course from fruits like apple, plums. So fruit are carbohydrates as well, by the way. So yeah. Now we're talking about proteins. And in endurance athletes, I would recommend from 1.2 grams to 2 grams per kilogram per day. And that, of course, is depending on what type of sport do you play, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, whether you're what age are you in, and we can talk about, protein intake in another video as well, and all the different ratios that you should be thinking about, because a lot of people have different opinions. But usually, as a general rule, you should be thinking about 1.2 to 2 grams per kilogram per day. Now, keeping that in mind, always keeping your goals in mind, whether you want to lose weight, maintain weight, or actually gain weight in order for your performance in your specific position to be enhanced. And, you want those proteins to be high quality proteins, because that way you can find better essential amino acids in the as a backbone. Now the sources, I would recommend spirulina, which is like about like 8 grams per 2 tablespoons of spirulina, green peas, hemp seed, quinoa, sprouted bread. If you can live without bread, I would recommend sprouted bread. Ezekiel has a great brand. And nuts, right? So nuts are also sources of protein. I would stay away from peanuts as much as I could. Those pseudo nuts, I will stay with actually the good nuts, macadamia nuts, almond nuts, and all that stuff. Now that's looking at proteins. Now we got to think about lipids, right? So fats, those transporting channels of minerals and vitamins. And lipids you should be thinking about as an endurance athlete about zero point 0.8 to 1 grams per kilogram per day. Again, depending on the sport, depending if we're preseason, during season, if we're post-season, if it's pre-game, post-game, during game, it's all depending, honestly, on what time of the year we're at. But as a general rule, you should be thinking about 0.8 to 1.5 grams per kilogram per day. Now, good sources of those lipids is going to be coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, avocados, avocado oil, nuts, nut butter, and other seeds, right? And now another recommendation that I'm going to put out there that I believe is as important as all your micronutrients, and by the way, your minerals and vitamins, so your micronutrients, you're going to be getting them also from all the different sources that I just mentioned, because again, the idea is just to have a very variety in your food sources. But also something that you need to keep an eye on is rest. And your glycogen storage are going to be restored. Your muscle tissue is going to be restored. Your brain, your cognitive function, like it's so many studies and so many things behind sleep and rest that I cannot emphasize this enough. Recovery and rest is super important for you as an athlete. Now, something that I want to talk about, and that's another major important subject, is supplementation. Since you're not getting your all the nutrients that you can from all different, even though you have a variety of sorts, so you're not getting all the different nutrients that your body needs in order to sustain your work capacity and all that stuff. You do need some supplementation. Now, the first supplementation that I would use if I was a plant-based athlete, it would be the sun. Literally 20 minutes a day, get some sun exposure. And that should help you with your autoimmune system and other things. But honestly, just get some sun exposure. A lot of plant-based athletes don't get that, and it's very important for you. And then in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, but it just gets at least 20 minutes of sun exposure. Now, I would do as another supplementation, it's a pre-workout drink, which is it's going to be composed of carbohydrates, sodium, and a little bit of citronous. And your sodium is going to be salt, literally salt. Himalayan sea salt is a little bit better because of the minerals that it contains, but salt is something that your nervous system and your muscle tissues need in order to communicate. And you also lose sodium throughout your bout and your game because of sweat in your training session. Carbohydrates, it's just a little bit of honey in there, and that's going to be carbohydrates in the form of sugar, and that's going to be something that your body's going to need during training, and a little bit of lemon juice or citrus juice in order for you to be drinking a little bit better. So pre-game drink, salt, honey, lemon, super awesome. Of course, vitamin D supplement. I take myself vitamin D supplement even though I do get sun exposure every single day, but still, vitamin supplement, it's better just to keep my autoimmune system on track. B12 supplement is also something that you need to keep an eye on, and you want to make sure that you keep on your diet. Calcium is also something, another supplement that you want to at least try to get into your cabinet, because it's very important. Omega-3 fatty acids, those are going to be DHA, EPA, and those you can find from vegan sources, so no problem with that. Now, a plant-based protein complex, I would definitely recommend that, because again, it's very hard for us just finding, protein sources and, lentils, goons, and all that stuff. You can find it, but it's just a little bit better if we can actually supplement that deficiency with plant-based protein complex. Now, you also want to think about BCAAs, or essential amino acid supplementation, either in the morning or after training. And also keep an eye, and this is very important, keep an eye on your vitamin A, your iron, and your zinc. They're really, really, really important for your body. Now, if you want to go the extra mile and you have the resources to do it, I would definitely suggest you to get a blood work done, just to make sure and just to see where your vitamins, where your minerals are at. And that way, if you are depleted in some of those vitamins or minerals, we can actually supplement them. All right, and that's looking at your supplementation and looking at your macros, your vitamins, and all that stuff, right? But now there's another subject that I want to touch here, which is evaluate. You as an athlete should be evaluating how you feel every single day, and you should evaluate, your nutritional protocols. So the first thing, now that you know that you need a different variety of carbohydrates, and you need a different variety of proteins, and you need a different variety of lipids, so in order for you to get minerals and vitamins, and you also know all the supplementation that you want to add onto your diet. All right, but how much do you actually need of all those things, right? And that's when your evaluation comes into place. You should evaluate, the caloric intake that you're having right now, whether you're a surplus or a shortage. And you should evaluate how much calorie or how much energy are you expending every single day or every single training session in order for you to either reach that calorie intake, be a little bit below if you want to lose some weight, or you want to be above if you want to gain muscle mass and you want to gain weight, all depending on your goals. But still, you want to make sure that you know what your caloric intake looks like, and you want to make sure that you're meeting that caloric intake. A lot of athletes out there don't do that, and that's when you also see a lot of autoimmune issues and all different sorts of issues. And of course, evaluate your energy levels. How are you feeling every single morning? Are you waking up energized? Are you waking up a little bit fatigued? Are you waking up, is your brain foggy during the day? Like, all that stuff also comes into play when it comes to your nutrition, because there might be some aspects that we need to take a look at if you are feeling low energy levels. Shouldn't be that way if we're actually acting properly. Now, of course, evaluate whether you're losing or you're gaining weight, or if you're maintaining your weight, right? Again, always in line with your goals, whether you want to lose, gain, or maintain your weight. But again, if you're losing a lot of weight and you don't want to do it, that means that there's something in your diet that we need to take a look at. And of course, with all that said, guys, I know that you probably still have a lot of questions, or you're probably still, a little bit doubtful whether you think you can go into a plant-based or not. But please let me know if you have any more questions. Go to a professional if you're actually want to move into a plant-based and you're lost all over the place. But if you're not lost all over the place, this should be good guidelines that are going to take you and your performance to be optimal for sure. Now, please just comment below. Let me know what you guys think about the video. Let me know if you guys have more questions. Let me know if you're a plant-based athlete yourself or footballer. And let me know if you want to know more. And I'll try to make more videos in the future about plant-based nutrition and about plant-based protocols. And of course, like I said, I can touch on each of these areas for days. So I might be probably doing, other videos about these different areas of your body requirements and how does it function. You guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Stay healthy, stay strong. I'm out.